Oh hi Amina, WWII Trat in your desk and welcome to Trat's Reviews. Today I will be doing a review of two movies I watched recently which I felt I should talk about. Those two movies being Grave of the Fireflies and Barefoot Gen. So a little while ago, while I was watching Kill la Kill, which for those of you who are not aware of trendy anime of the current time, is an anime set where Germany wins World War II. And it made me think about World War II, and I was like, how do other countries view how World War II went? Because clearly, me being in America, we think we're amazing and how we can't do anything wrong. So I was flipping through things, and it got me to thinking of various tragedies and whatnot that happened during the war. Obviously, the concentration camps being one. But another one that almost slipped my mind completely was the atom bombs. Now I'm not gonna say that my recent ponderings have made me anti-war or anything, and taking the converse of that, I'm not exactly pro-war either, but it definitely was something that made me think for a bit, because the atom bomb kind of kicked ass, clearly, considering the fact that Japan gave up after two of those. In fact, it probably would have gone better for all parties involved if they had just stopped after the first, but it's in the past and we can't change that now, so there's no real use worrying about it. But I was really interested, because of the fact that I watch anime and read manga. I was really interested to see what Japan thought of how World War II went, so I went and started looking at it, because I was expecting bias, but then again, all parties have bias, and I think I'm a pretty decent judge at seeing what's really going on. And the two anime I ended up picking for my anime watching for World War II were Grave of the Fireflies and Barefoot again. So Grave of the Fireflies is set towards the end of World War II. The main character's father is in the Navy, and it's just him and his sister and his mother living alone. Well, I mean, they're not like alone, they're still like in town and whatnot near relatives, but they're relatively alone. And a bombing run happens, and hey, it's not really spoilers. A bombing run happens, and the main character's mother dies, and that was actually really hard to deal with, even with my stone cold heart. But the main character's mother dies, so the rest of the movie is him working to survive with his sister, with no home, alone, pretty much alone in the world, trying to support each other in the chaos of the end of World War II / post World War II a little bit. Barefoot Gen is a story which is based on the author, it's slightly fictionalized, but it's also based on the author's actual experience of World War II. And while the animation and the sound are honestly not that great in Barefoot Gen, I stuck through it for the story, because I am aware of the author and who made Barefoot Gen, and so I really wanted to see how the movie would play out. So I'll do a little quick thing about the author. So the author was a young lad. I don't remember the exact age, but I'm going to assume like 10 should be a decent number to guess at. And when he went to school one day, the bomb fell, and he was one of the very few survivors in the area because of the fact that he bent over, and when the bomb went off, he was able to evade the heat wave and whatnot because of the fact that he was behind a wall which fell on top of him. And he also took a really heavy mouth wound which scarred him. And after the initial explosion, he was able to leave, and he picks up his mother, which seems to be a rather common instance. He picks up his mother. Pretty much the rest of his family died in the incident. Now, like I said, I'm not entirely familiar with his background, but I was able to infer from what I do know of him and from Barefoot again as to what actually happened. But he ended up being alone. And one of the things that was actually kind of interesting when I looked up at his biography was that he had been making another copy of Barefoot Again for current President Barack Obama, and he died of lung cancer, I think, which is right before it happened, which is really too bad. The radiation from the atom bomb causing cancer as much as it does. It's really sad to see a rather good storyteller die from something like that. Like I said, Barefoot Again, the animation wasn't that great except for the atom bomb where you're watching everyone melt. I know that sounds cold-hearted of me, but that was pretty much the only spectacular animation. The sound wasn't that great. I think it's really sad when I can translate something better than the English sub that I found on it. The English sub was awful. Like I said, I stuck through it for the story, because the story is what's important for these kind of things. Now, Grave of the Fireflies is a Ghibli film, if I recall correctly. I'll correct myself if I'm wrong. It'll be about here-ish if I'm wrong. But the animation's really good, and the sound's really good, and if you haven't watched it, I highly advise it. Now, neither of these stories have happy endings, which is to be expected. Every character's life being destroyed and all. But even though that's the case, even if you don't watch the movies, I highly advise that you, if you're not completely aware of how things went down, then I think it would be in your best interest to look it up, because I don't want to say it's like raising awareness or anything like that, because like I said, it's not like I'm anti-war or anything. War is a thing that happens, and oh well. But at the same time, I think it's best to at least be aware of the consequences for both sides, for things of a heavy nature like this. Now, if I were to give a score, if I were to give a score to Grave of the Fireflies, it'd probably be a 7. If I were to give a score to Barefoot Again, it'd probably be 5. Because, like I said, it's not always the animation that's important, but the story. So those are my reviews of the two movies. I know this isn't really a particularly amazing review, where I get like in-depth into it or anything, but like I said, it's just something that struck me recently, and it's definitely something that I think other people should look into. So like I said, I highly advise that you check these movies out. Even if it's not so much because of the fact that the movies themselves are spectacular, but because of the fact that I really enjoy seeing stories like these that you don't often see, and it's something that's sorely missed in all the action-packed lightheartedness of most anime. It's really good for me, in my opinion, to see something so down-to-earth as Barefoot Again and Grave of the Fireflies. Hope you guys enjoyed this pseudo-review that I just did. Until next time, ciao now.